Hello and welcome to the Ask Steph Show. Today's episode is covering a question that I get from a lot of ladies, and the question is how to deal with bloating. And I'm very glad I get asked this question because this is something I've struggled with a lot personally. And so going through my steps to kind of research and experiment and figure out what worked for me helps me help other women who have the same issue. So first I want to share my personal story about GI stomach bloating issues first, so you kind of know where I'm coming from. And then I'm going to cover how you can self-treat and test things at home in order to win the battle against bloating. So in July of 2016, my husband and I were enjoying a vacation up in Flagstaff, Arizona. And we went out and we got some wine and we got one of those aged cheese plates that comes out with crackers and different kinds of cheeses. And that's not something we frequently do. Like, I don't think we've ever ordered aged cheese plate together, but we tested it out and I enjoyed the cheese, went to the hotel, got a good night's rest, and then as soon as I woke up in the morning, I had severe abdominal pain. It was like burning and severe sharp shooting pains in my lower abdomen. So we tried to go out to breakfast, but I couldn't even sit still at the breakfast table. I couldn't even get any food down. I was in so much pain. So we got in the car, we rushed home, and I just tried to lay down and see if things would just get better. But they weren't. It got to the point where I ran into the restroom thinking I was going to throw up because I felt so nauseous and the pain just kept getting worse and worse. So we went to the hospital here. They took me in. I had some tests done, like a CT scan. And the doctors were kind of concerned because they said my results came back that my intestines were maybe longer than usual. There was maybe a possible herniation, but they weren't quite sure about that. And something about my appendix being on my left side instead of my right. So it just sounded like my whole GI area was a little bit out of whack. And there was just a big question mark, like, we really don't know what's going on. So they basically just admitted me into the hospital and they said, we're going to give you a few days. We're going to, put an NG tube down your throat into your stomach and suck everything out. And we're just going to pump you with, pain medication and fluids and just see if you get better in a few days. If you don't, then they're going to go in and do surgery and kind of explore and see what is actually going on. So I did that. This is my first time ever being in the hospital. Luckily, the pain started getting better at about day 2 into day 3. And it ended up going through a few more tests. Everything was kind of running fine again. So it was clear to start eating food again. I had to go 3 days without eating anything. I don't know how I did it, and I don't know how my husband was able to stay by my side and support me through all that, because I was just miserable. But luckily it got better, and I was able to go home and slowly start eating normal foods again. Since then, I have been on the search to try and figure out what caused that issue. So I started seeing a GI specialist, and she had me do a few different tests, blood tests, to check for celiac disease and food allergies. And we did a colonoscopy, and that was all fine. So ultimately, she sent me to an allergist to get allergy tested. So there, he did those skin prick tests, and what happened is my back, where they did the test, blew up. I apparently am severely allergic to a lot of different pollens around here, but the worst one that I was allergic to was mold. So I'm thinking, all right, aged cheese, mold, pretty similar. Pretty much that could have been what caused it, but I still wasn't sure. So he recommended I start doing a food elimination diet, because sometimes when you have a blood test results and the food allergy skin test results, those results aren't always exactly the same. So he says the best way to determine what truly you're allergic to is to do an elimination diet. I was like, all right, fine. I mean, I don't really like dieting in the first place, or limiting myself to what I can eat, but I said, this is my health. I don't want this to happen again. I don't want to put my husband through that again, me going into the hospital. So I said, all right, I'll do it. So I started researching the food elimination diet. It's really cool because you cut out certain foods and then you slowly add them back in to kind of test and see how your body responds to each one that you add back in. Some of the things that you eliminate on this food elimination diet are things like dairy and gluten, soy, eggs, and it just goes on and on, nuts, goes on and on. So I did that diet and I came out of it thinking it was dairy. That's kind of the only thing that when I added it back in, I had issues with. So then from there, I was like, okay, well maybe it's not all dairy. Maybe it is just the cheese. So I kind of did my own little test on certain dairy products. So yogurt, ice cream, milk, and cheese. And from those, I was able to determine the only one I was still having a bad reaction to was the cheese. So that's my story, how I kind of came to the conclusion of what was causing my issues. Not only just the hospitalization of the abdominal pain, but I was having severe bloating issues from July 2016 all the way until about December 2016 when I was testing it all out. The point of that story is sometimes bloating can just be just a normal response to maybe after you've had a big meal or something. But other times you can actually maybe have a potential food allergy or food sensitivity. And so it's good to become aware of those terms and to become aware of the fact that you can kind of test things out on your own without even having to go to a doctor. All you need is to try the food elimination diet sometimes. So I want to go over a few causes of bloating because it's always good to keep in mind what the most general causes are. One of which is air. Just simply taking in too much air can cause a lot of it to build up in your stomach. So doing things like drinking out of a straw, that can bring in more air, or chewing gum, same thing. So if you're having bloating issues, test out eliminating using a straw and eliminate chewing gum and see if that helps. A second cause of bloating is just simply eating too much food. You see all this delicious yummy food at a buffet or at a gathering with friends and you just want to eat it all. Well, of course you're going to get bloated afterwards because you ate twice as much as you're used to digesting. Just trying to have a little bit smaller portion and keep it consistent may help as well. In addition, think about the specific types of foods that you're eating. So I want to read off a list of foods that are more difficult to digest than others. Here we go. They are beans, vegetables like Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, broccoli, lettuce, and onions. In addition, artificial sweeteners and dairy products. It can also be fruits like prunes, apricots, apples, peaches, and pears. So if any of those foods are foods you enjoy eating, maybe just try cutting down how much of them you're eating and see if that helps with your bloating. No one knows your body better than you know it yourself. So you can always go talk to every doctor in the world, but you're the one who truly knows how you feel and how you're reacting to different foods that you're eating. So test it out and experiment and see if cutting down on these foods that are more difficult to digest helps. So let's move on to a few tips I have for treating bloating. Number one, just addressing the cause of it. So going through these tests on your own or going through tests with doctors to figure out what the potential cause or causes of it are, that's going to be the best way to deal with it. Figure out what's causing it so you can eliminate or stop eating or doing what's causing it, But in addition to that, a few other little things you can do on your own. Number one, just try and drink more water throughout the day. Number two, make sure you're getting enough fiber intake. It should be 14 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories you eat per day. So if you're someone who normally eats 2,000 calories a day, you should be getting at least 28 grams of fiber per day. In addition, you can try taking a digestive enzyme. That's something you can pick up online or at the supplement store or Walmart or anywhere. And the one we take is just a super digestive enzyme, and you can take it with every meal. Just helps you kind of break the food down a little bit better. And the last tip I have is maybe trying a probiotic. So that's something that you don't necessarily have to take long term. Just pick up a bottle, try it. It kind of resets your digestive system and resets the bacteria that you have in there. And sometimes just doing that, then stop it and see how you do. It might help a lot. I know it's helped me a lot. Anyways, I hope that those tips on how to battle bloating helped you guys, and hopefully just learning a little bit about what I went through with my personal experience and how I was able to come out of it, having a lot more knowledge about my body and my digestive system. Hopefully that helps you. Just remember, take matters in your own hands and just experiment with things on your own and see how your body responds. That's kind of the best test that you can do when it comes to digestive problems and bloating. So anyways, hope that helped you guys.